Hello everybody, and welcome to Minecraft Classic. Now, if you've been following my in-depth series for a while, you'll remember that I specifically said that the world that I was playing on was the oldest version of Minecraft that you can transport to your ordinary saves and play on 1.20 point whatever the version is now, right? Now, this is a totally different version of the game, and if you're an old head like me from around 2010 to 2011, you'll remember that this is the version of the game back in the day from around 2010 to 2012 that you could play on the official Minecraft.net site. In fact, if you go back on the Minecraft.net site on the Wayback Machine, you'll find that this version is playable as a Java applet within the website itself. And there's a very good reason for that. Number one is the fact that this version of the game is very underdeveloped. Number two is the fact that it doesn't contain a main menu at all, so it's not a working version of the game either. It's simply an applet that's meant to demonstrate what the game is about. And also, this version of the game isn't optimized at all. There is barely anything you can do in it aside from place and destroy blocks, and it is meant simply something that exists to test the world generation within the game itself. It doesn't have that many features, it isn't that well developed, aside from the fact that it just sort of exists by itself and has a bunch of test features and functions that you can use. Nevertheless, this is the version of the game that was demonstrated for a very long time for people to play on, and it worked on Windows XP and Windows Vista computers. So, what does this version of the game have? Well, it works sort of like creative mode, aside from the fact that you can't fly or move around the map very speedily either, but the buttons at the top of the screen do random stuff. So let's say I use F1, which in normal version of the game would pretty much dim my toolbar and allow me to see the rest of the map. Nothing happens. F2, nothing happens. F3, no console log pops up, nothing happens. F4, nothing happens, but what happens if I press F5? Well, we just found out, it starts raining. In older versions of the game, in the very first test versions that ran as Java applets and were unoptimized, and you pretty much could only play them in the browser without downloading them, F5 used to start to rain. And in later versions of the game, F5 was actually changed to immediately spawn nether portals before those were added and fully functional. But in these versions, F5 seemed to be the preferred test subject in order to test the rain and the general mechanics of the world's weather apparatus working. Of course, there's no night. We can turn off the rain at any time, but no matter how many times we turn it on and back off, of course, night isn't going to settle over our world. So this is pretty much just like a free build version of the game where you can make pretty much anything you'd like, and it demonstrates what the core game is about, really, without any of the survival mechanics. And it makes much sense that even before Microsoft had bought the game, this was removed from the official website as the game continued in its development and it was no longer necessary to have this on. So I just wanted to show this real quick. There isn't much that you can do. Honestly, the keybinds are pretty simple. You can save the location of return and you can load it with R. So what I think I'll do is I'll just change these to Z and X. You can toggle the font with F and you can build with B. So let's try this. F. Yeah, that definitely makes it look quite creepy. Yeah, I see it. But keep in mind, this is just to improve your performance a bit, since this version does tend to lag a lot. And the save and return location basically allows you to teleport. So I'll save it with X. Oh, save it with Z. It. I guess they both do the same thing. Let me check it one more time. Controls, saves with Z. There we go, and it straightens you out. And then you teleport back to the location with X, right? So I'll build a little tower. These are like Super Mario blocks. I'll save it with Z, and then I can teleport back to it at any time with X, right? Perfect. Yeah, so that works pretty much fine. As for the actual mechanics of the game, you could build under yourself, like this. As you may remember, the version of Int that I was playing on had a glitch where you could build for yourself. That is not a glitch that is present here. You can't build into yourself. It was something that was reintroduced later in the game as the game became more complicated and Java Outlet started having more issues handling itself. There isn't that many features in this base game to go off of. We of course have the stone block, we have the cobblestone block that was later present in an INTF and alpha versions, we have the brick, we have the dirt, we have the wooden plank, we had the oak log, we had the leaf, we had the glass, and then we also had these slabs, um, which took a long time to stack, and sometimes you mistakenly place a few of them at once. But nevertheless, this is a rudimentary version of the game that you could use to build like little fortresses and stuff, like the one that I'm building now. You could, of course, build like a little lookout station, like I'm building right here, and then you could top it off with the same version of the block that you were building before, and it makes it have a nice little shading, although I'm not sure this is how it's quite meant to work. And obviously a lot of you remember that we used to have a lot of fun with this version, just playing on Windows Vista and XP computers without having much expectations. We just needed to be connected to the internet, we didn't need to buy the game, and this provided an affordable way for a lot of people to get their start playing this game. But of course, you know, it's a very basic, rudimentary version of the game. There isn't really much to show. I'll very quickly generate a new level, and I'll show you the level mechanics. So we can have a small map, and this is something like this. It's basically just a small island. So we'll build ourselves up a little bit, and I'll show you guys what it's all about. You can't really travel around the world here. I mean, the world is very basic and rudimentary in a lot of ways. I'll show you guys what I mean. Build myself up for these weird, really textured leaves, and there we go. Not much to go off of. It just basically shows you like the borders of the actual world and how far you can go without falling down. And now if you do try to scoot a little bit more closer to the border, you'll end up hitting this like wall. So, as many of you may remember, the border wall was introduced around Minecraft 1.14 full release. And the reason I say full release is because we often talk about older versions on this channel. But the border wall had already existed before Minecraft Beta, before Minecraft Alpha, before Minecraft In-Depth, and even before Minecraft Classic. The border walls was one of the first things that were added to the game to prevent players from escaping it, because Notch didn't want the game to have infinite loading distance, since that would make it way, you know, less optimized than the game already is when it's cracking up my computer despite it being 15 years old. So you can imagine how badly this game lagged on old computers and why it was so inefficient. Aside from the items that are available in an inventory, there's of course mushrooms. You can pick these up by just clicking the scroll wheel. You could pick other items and stuff up by clicking the scroll wheel over them, and this allowed you to get ores that were normally unavailable to you to use. There were very basic online servers with mini-games like Spleef, where you could shoot down the ground from under you and your opponents, and that would allow you to maneuver a little bit more. Let's generate a new adventure level with a normal terrain map, and as you can see, the sea is all the way over there, and we have a sort of 3D world to explore. And if we try to put it to huge, it raises, it erodes, it soils, it grows, it plants. And if we go up over this hill, we can see that we can't even see the border. We can see it very far away, but if we turn on the fog, this is just like an ordinary world. Granted, it only has a little bit of sand, which is much more than InfDev with the testing of the generation versions. But there definitely is a lot of potential here, because if you could imagine these places just being filled up with water or whatever of the sort, or lava, you can imagine all of this being able to put you onto like an adventure map, something, you know, interesting and beneficial. You could use the actual borders of the game to sort of have fun with your friends, just building stuff and making stuff for yourself. It really doesn't need to be that complicated, the game as an object. You obviously can't do much else. You can't really pick up water. If you try to click over it, or over the barrier blocks, it just gives you the last block that is available. We have a very, very sample bedrock texture. This is the first time that bedrock was introduced into the actual game, as this was the last version of Classic, and I believe it was introduced only a few versions before to mark the bottom of the border wall rather than it being the void or lava. And if we mine straight down, something very interesting will happen. Of course, the terrain generation down is not as much as before, but we can actually see very primitive caves that were not available until much later in Minecraft Alpha. Indeed, they weren't available in Minecraft In-Depth, which means that Minecraft Classic actually had a good reason for being up on the site for so long, because when you could purchase Minecraft In-Depth for 9.95 euros, this version had much more features and it was available for free, so many people saw it as a valuable alternative. But the void, lava, dungeon wall, that exist in playable survival versions of the game later on in InfDev and Alpha, and was removed later and replaced with Bedrock, which is you can kind of see glimmer down from the bottom of the lava, still very much exists. I guess this answers my question about the infinitely flowing lava at the bottom of the game. Here we can clearly see that bedrock was added below the lava, which means that I learned something during recording this video too by trying to show you guys this. But this is essentially all this version of the game is. There isn't much to it, it's just a basic rudimentary exploration of what creative mode would later be like, and of the test versions that the game could potentially have if the developer led it a different way. So I think it gives us a lot of insight into what way older classic Minecraft was like back in 2009 and 2010. And it gives us a lot of insight into what the test versions of the game could have brought for us. The same versions that were before published for free onto these forums for indie game developers are now accessible to us. If we just download the Java applets into our computers, it's a complicated process, but using the BetaCraft launcher I was able to do it quite successfully. So it's an interesting insight into what these versions of the game were like, and hopefully if you didn't see them before, well, now you see something new for yourself. So I'm very glad that I got to bring you guys on this journey along with me, and if you're interested, please press the subscribe button and turn on notifications for more videos on old Minecraft like this. I also have a full playlist of it, as well as my in-depth world on my channel. So without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.